On the Intel Committee, and several times the Secretary has offered to have classified briefings, and I would welcome that opportunity anytime that you see fit to have this subcommittee have the Secretary in that setting. Mr. Secretary, thank you. A number of the topics that I wanted to raise have been raised, but in slightly different forms. An exception to that is, in a slightly different form, is I want to again reiterate the importance of this adoption issue in Congo. And is it your understanding that the additional 250 young boys and girls in the Congo who have been adopted by U.S. citizens will also be processed and released to the United States, to their parents?
We hope so.
Is there more than hope in that? That's
Well,
my question.
I think there's an understanding, isn't there, that they're going to be coming?
I think my question is there a commitment that you expect to be kept, or is this just a hope or wishful thinking?
There's an understanding. We have the DRC has authorized more than 150 to come, and on the 250 from Congo, I believe.
My understanding is there's another 250 children who have been adopted, awaiting the opportunity to come to the United States.
Yeah, there are about 400 total.
Again, I'm not sure what the expectation is. I don't know what the Congo, what the president agreed to. Is your understanding?
We'll get you.
Okay.
Let me get you a precise answer on that.
Great. And if that agreement has been made, I would encourage, as my colleagues have, of you, the State Department, the United States government, consisting to encourage. A number of us met in Senator Blunt's office with the ambassador from the Congo. It is such a heart-rending circumstance to see these. Today I saw photos of these boys and girls, but to talk to their parents, who are their parents, and they're still thousands of miles away. So please, thank you for your efforts in the past, and please continue that effort. You also had a conversation with Senator Blunt about the settlement of the financial dispute between Iran and the United States. And you indicated at that time, although I think perhaps it was slightly different than what you said today, that there are more pending claims that potentially could be settled. Those claims are claims of Iran against assets or dollars from the United States, and that those claims need to be finalized. This was a large chunk of that, but not all of them. And my question is, do you know how many, what claims remain and how much money is involved there?
I'm told that they are very, very few, if in the multiples of single digits, and that it is less than the amount of money that was left in the account.
I was very critical of that transaction, that agreement, and I was critical for the reasons that it seemed to me that that money would have been used to compensate American citizens who have claims against the Iranian government, that there should have been an offset. And what's your reaction to my criticism?
This is a separate track, Senator. This is foreign military sales money that was a very specific purchase that took place in 1979, and it was escrowed separately in an account at that period of time. And it accrued interest. And if you, I recall vividly that the interest rates back at that period of time were upwards of 18, 19, 20% or something at some point in time for a period of time. And it is only in the most recent years we've had the luxury of, near zero and very, very low interest rates. So we were looking at a liability upwards of, several $billion. And we believe in the end that the judgment was made by everybody. I mean, this was an interagency, fully vetted, unbelievably analyzed process, which made a judgment about what was the appropriate level and what would be a good arrangement for settlement, and that's what we arrived at.
Did the negotiations include requests of the Iranian government to pay the claims of United States citizens?
Sure, we're always pressing for that, but that's part of the claims process. There are outstanding claims for those, and those are in The Hague, I believe, as part of the claims process.
In regard to Senator Durbin's question about the 15% military aid that can be withheld if there are human rights violations with Egypt, my understanding is that your budget request and the appendix of this year's budget request the administration pushes for removal of that language altogether. And I want to know the justification. Maybe you said that to Senator Durbin, but I think his question was slightly different than that.
Can I get, I'm not sure that I understand then what you're,
My understanding is that that your budget request asks that the language that allows for that withholding of those dollars to be removed, that the authority disappear.
the
And,
withholding of which?
the 15% when there are violations of human rights.
Let me get, can I get back to you on that?
Absolutely. I guess my question is
Different.
what's the rationale of the administration in changing the law that has that provision in it today?
I want to get back to you on that.
Very good. And finally, I think finally, issues related to the persecution of folks based upon their religion. There's been significant allegations that ISIS is persecuting people based upon their religion. We've heard that from former Secretary, your predecessor, Secretary Clinton, the Pope, the European Union, and others have indicated that genocide is occurring by ISIS. And there is at least some reports that the United States is considering declaring this a genocide against the Yazidis, but not against Christians. Is there any validity to those allegations? And if so, what would the distinction be?
Senator, there is a process ongoing right now making an analysis under the law. The lawyers are making this judgment. So you may be picking up some of the technical debate on what standard is applied that meets the legal standard of genocide and crimes against humanity and so forth. And I've heard some of these arguments. And in fact, because of what I've heard, I have to make this judgment. And I am prepared to make it and make it soon. I have asked for further evaluation based on what I've heard in order to test against the law some of my own perceptions and evaluations and see where we come out. That's the process. And so whatever early reports you are hearing do not reflect sort of state of the art where our thinking is or what we're going through on this. And I have to make a judgment on this, and I will when I'm satisfied that I've evaluated that standard and I'm comfortable with what the outcome is.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for your presence and your testimony.